but we may be back on the contract, so.
Call the January meeting to order.
I'm not knowing enough to do that.
Ms. Raps, could you please call roll?
Chairman Burke,
Present.
Vice Chairman Anderson,
Here.
Commissioner Glover,
Here.
Commissioner Neil Anderson, Commissioner Bush. I think she's on Zoom.
She's on Zoom.
Okay.
She's present.
Commissioner Leggett,
Here.
Commissioner Reeves,
Here.
and Commissioner Brewer,
Here.
Commissioner McDermott.
Here.
Thank you, Ms. Christie. First, I want to say to my fellow commissioners, thank you for allowing me this opportunity. Appreciate it very much. Sincerely do. So we'll review the minutes and I'll entertain a motion to adopt those if there are no changes.
Move to adopt the minutes.
Second.
The motion and second, any conversation or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Director Coakley, we'll move to you.
All right, thank you, sir, Mr. Chairman. Just want a quick update on some of our activities. As you know, we're still working on the state water plan. We're working in conjunction with U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Little Rock District. But echo.
Here are the only issues I have.
We may have plugged into the White House.
Yeah, we might have.
Yeah.
So, continue my report. We're working on the state water plan where the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is working on hiring the contractor that will do the phase 2 component. They're in the process of doing that right now. Hope to have the contractor in place in the next week or so. Jason? Yes, sir. And, we're also doing our planning assistance to states round of funding, to fully fund phase 2. So we're also in conjunction with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers on that as well. Hope to get 100% of the dollars, together. Half of that will come from the Corps, half of that will be provided by us, to do that project. In conjunction with the water plan, we're also still working on the state levy inventory. So that's another project in conjunction with the Corps. So right now, we're working in about 47 counties across the state. So about 34 potential levies, and these are non-federal levies that we're focused on, of really understanding, is it a levy? Where is it? What condition is it in? And so that also ties into the state water plan. Right now, they're doing a lot of the ground truthing, talking to county officials and others, just trying to get as much information as they can on those levies. Our involvement has been trying to make the connections. We often know a lot of the local folks that we can match up, whether it be through floodplain administrators, to get them in contact with the appropriate person. We're also working on the Alliance project. This is just a reminder, this is a project that we implemented with Virginia Tech and a lot of other partners to put practices on the ground. We're looking to expand that into Lee County, so we'll be in 7 counties here pretty soon. We're actually doing an agreement with St. Francis County Conservation District. They'll provide the technician that will work in Lee County. So we're in the process of expanding that and then also looking to do another enrollment period, probably in February or March, to get our second really and final year. We're also working on a feral hog strategic plan. Heavily involved with feral hogs. Even well before I got here, I was feral hog coordinator in the Department of Agriculture. Wes and I both were on the feral hog task force at one time. I was at Game and Fish. Wes represented agriculture and was the chair. But we want to really stop a minute, take a look at what we've accomplished since really the task force was created, and then plan where do we need to go into the future, and what has been successful and what has not been successful. And so we're working on that. Hope to have a product soon. Also, this has been my second year to participate in the lowest crop per drop contest, and so I served as one of the judges on that contest. But it's run by Dr. Chris Henry at UA Cooperative Extension. really fascinating, to sit and participate in that, and really great program where they provide, prizes and awards for those that can grow crops with the lowest amount of irrigation water. And really interesting to watch and see how much you can actually conserve when you're focused on conserving water. And so that's been interesting. I think there's a lot that can be gained from that. One of the folks that was in the contest was growing, basically getting about 13 bushels per inch of water, which was pretty dang fascinating to me. And, so a lot to be gained from that. And Chris, we've incorporated him in some of our state water planning focus groups and other things. And then last, turnover. So like probably every agency in state government right now, we're experiencing quite a bit of turnover. Some of that, people find jobs in other places, and a lot of it's been retirements. And we're kind of going through a generational turnover within the natural resources division. And, you know, in the spirit of that, I want to recognize two employees that one is retired and one is about to retire. And between these two employees, they've got about 71 years of experience with the division. And that's a lot of, you know, institutional knowledge that goes out the door when they leave. But we're happy for them when they do that, because they've reached a milestone in their life where they can go and enjoy their free time and don't have to get up and go to work every day. So we're happy for them, but I do want to recognize them. So Sue Follette Alamy, retired in December with us, and she had 31 years. And when I came to work for Soil and Water Conservation Commission in 2000, she was our HR chief, and then later switched jobs and became our QC officer for the non-point source program, and then later, ran our wetland riparian tax credit program. And, so really important employee. And then Randy Polk, worked for us for 37 years, and he's gonna retire this month, as an engineer in the water development section. So all these projects that get approved, you know, somebody has to approve plans and specs and all those things, and make sure that those projects move from an engineering standpoint. And our engineers, you know, play a key role in that. And to have that much experience going out the door is tough. But I'd like, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay, I'd like to ask, each one of them to come to the front. And I have a plaque, that's signed by the governor and signed by Secretary Ward. Secretary Ward, if you'd like to join us too, and just take a photo with each
Please do.
employee. So Sue, if you don't mind, would you come up, please? We'll do Sue first and then Rick. Get that out of here. So 34 years. Yeah. I can't believe it.
And I've known you and I've known you 23.
Yes.
Good job.
Yeah.
Okay.
You bet.
3, 2, 1.
Congratulations, Sue. So 37 years. And Randy, you worked lots of, really only three directors, I guess, of natural resources.
That's correct. Randy Young and Alan and you.
Yeah. But appreciate your service and all those years of experience. I hope you passed a lot of that information along to our
I have
engineering
been.
staff.
I have been. Two of them are here.
3, 2, 1.
Thank you, Randy. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Weeder, give us a financial assistance report, please.
Morning, we have the financial report for the three main financial assistance programs that we have for natural resources. First is the Water Development Fund. We began the fiscal year with 13,416,000 and a little more. the activities, the revenues that have been brought in, the interest earned on these funds, and also the repayments of loans, added to that. And then you see the disbursements that have totaled, $1,299,000, leaving an ending fund balance of $13,494,573. And there are currently approved projects, totaling, including a $1 million, reserve for emergency projects that total $4,930,488. Which means the unobligated funds as we sit here today is $8,564,085. There are projects that will be presented to you a little later on for your potential approval that total $443,477, which would mean if those are approved, the available funding for future projects would be $8,120,608. And the WSSW fund, the fiscal year began with a balance of $19,073,095. The repayments thus far in the fiscal year have been $737,115. And the disbursements, as shown for various projects, have been $1,159,247, leaving an ending fund balance of $18,650,963. Previously approved projects by this body are listed, including a $1 million reserve for emergency projects. That totals $9,375,581, leaving total unobligated funds at this time, $9,275,382. Projects that will be presented to you a little later on for your approval, total $7,114,978. If those are approved, then the balance available to fund future projects will be $2,160,403. Lastly is the general obligation bond program funding. It began the year with $60,899,652. And the disbursements that have been made against those funds thus far through the first 6 months of the fiscal year are listed, and they total $16,723,353, leaving a fund balance through the first 6 months of $44,176,298. And the previously approved projects that have not been dispersed are listed here for you, and those total $38,194,970. Leaving at this point, total unobligated funds of $5,981,327. And there are projects listed for your consideration later on in this meeting that total $3,947,774. If those are approved, then the available funding for future projects in the general obligation bond fund would be $2,033,552.
Questions for Mr. Weideroth?
What kind of restraints do we have before we can do another bond issue? Is that just approved by the legislature?
So we have two different opportunities to do bond issues. One's general obligation bonds, and then we have our state revenue bonds that we can do, which y'all have a resolution on your agenda today for a state revenue bond issuance under the SRF program. But general obligation bond, we're in the second year of the biennium, starting starting this next fiscal year. And so we'll have an opportunity to sell bonds. But we'll just have to plan for when we want to do that on the general obligation bond side.
Later will be better.
Yeah, but we still have an opportunity. We sold, I guess, 30 million in bonds, the first year of the biennium. And so we'll have the opportunity to sell 30 million more under the current work plan.
Additional questions?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weeder. Mr. Thomas.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Commissioners. Thanks for coming this morning. Happy to see everybody. And by that's the crowd, if you know me, my name is Tanner Thomas, one of the attorneys here at the Department of Agriculture. Just going to go through a legal report real quick. Not a lot to go through here this morning. Of course, the last big item that this commission had prior to this meeting was the hearing we held on December 18th. And we have just gotten that out in the mail, the order on that. Chairman Burr had signed it real quick. Thank you for getting that back to us real quick. I was waiting on the transcript, to make sure I got my wording correct and everything like that. I had to look at the video because we haven't got the transcript yet. I don't know what's taking so long. It was only 5.5 hours.
We remember it all day.
Some afternoons work, for me, but totally understand, then not getting that back. That was a big hearing and I appreciate everybody's attendance on that date. I believe everybody was there and I appreciate y'all listening, and sitting through that. I don't think that there's going to be any sort of need for the commission to further act on that besides Chairman Burr's signature, which we've already got on the order. Unless it comes back on judicial review, if something happens at the circuit court to kick it back and remand or anything like that. But again, we don't know if they're going to appeal or anything like that at this stage.
They have the opportunity to appeal it.
They have the opportunity, once they receive it, that 30-day window starts right there. They have that ability there, and that goes to the circuit court of their county or here in Pulaski County. So the law goes on that. So if there's any sort of remand update, anything like that, we'll get that to y'all and bring it back down to the commission. And I guess at that point you set another hearing. But I personally, I don't expect that. It's rare for a circuit court, but anything can happen on that. So we'll let y'all know.
About when do you expect that 30 days to close? I know it's when they receive it, so.
We have not received any sort of card from the certified mail. I would say 30 days from either today, tomorrow, or Friday. I imagine they received it yesterday or maybe today, depending on how the mail's running out there. It's sent to 3 different locations because one individual did not appear, and then we did hear from a pro se petitioner who came and spoke on his own behalf. And so we have potentially 3 parties to hear from on that for judicial review. So there's that. Any more questions on the previous hearing? Again, not much to talk about on that. We're just kind of waiting to see how things go on that front. Second, we had sent out 2 consent agreements on water well contractors on potential violations, just to hand those out in lieu of having a hearing like the one we had on water plan compliance. I got a call from some folks last Thursday, the first snow day, and they were asking their technician all about wells and say, hey, what's your mailing address? They're mailing in, they're wanting to comply, and they're just wanting to sit in the end and do what they need to do. Still waiting on environmental works. They're still within the 30-day window that we gave them to sign and take a look at that agreement and have back us with a call or mail from them, but not expecting it immediately. All about wells was kind of unexpected. They just angsted real quick from the time we had sent that out. So if there's any sort of change, anything that needs to happen again, set a hearing on those compliance issues, then we'll rally everybody up and set something up for that. What's kind of strange is we haven't received any sort of public water authority applications. Those came in fairly steady, at least 1 or 2 a month for the first handful of months that I was here. I don't know if that's some sort of signal or anything. Y'all may know the industry better than I do on that, but we don't have any sort of updates on that ground, any sort of
Water Authority formations or conversions on that, we're kind of up to date, and I haven't received any sort of requests, so just imagine one might come in, as I say, that this afternoon or tomorrow or something like that, so who knows on that. And legislative session has started. There are a handful of bills that involve water related issues, maybe one or two well issues. I know that there's one blockchain cool down the server type bills that have been submitted there. I don't know how many more have been submitted in the past couple of days. So if any of you have concerns, questions, anything like that, and want to take a look at anything that's been submitted, just let you know. Session started, talk to representatives, senators, anything like that, any other folks that you'd like to talk to, work through that. And really it on the legal report, except for one last item. This coming Friday is my last day at the Department of Agriculture. I'm starting a new position at the Secretary of State's office. It is not something that I sought out or wanted to leave the department here. Really like working with the commissions, departments, inspectors, all the folks that I've touched with, especially some of the subcommittees like water well constructors, vet medical, and all of the registered foresters and all of that. It's been fun gig on this. So, you know, I've only got 1 year, but I'm hoping for a plaque and a picture. No, I'm kidding. But 1 year's not enough. Okay. But happy to have helped out, especially those new subcommittees that are a little bit fledgling and they were in their infancy. Several commissions and boards have been abolished and subsumed into the 3 big commissions, 3 of 4 big commissions we got here. And I was happy to help with all y'all and got me for today, tomorrow, and Friday. So make use of it. So appreciate it. Any questions, concerns?
Best of luck in your new role.
And Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman,
Mr. Chairman.
if I could, I just, I appreciated working with Tanner on lots of different things. So we have a lot of stuff that we need legal eyes on a daily basis. And so just appreciate all his effort and hard work. So
Thanks, sir.
good luck, Tanner, in the new role.
Appreciate it.
Questions for Tanner? Sir,
Thank you.
Director call pleasure reimbursement options.
Yes, sir. Commissioners, at the first meeting of the year, you all are to approve your reimbursement options. This is for expenses, in your official duties on the commission. You actually have 4 options. The first option is to be reimbursed, just like a state employee. So if you spend the night somewhere, we can cover your meals, your lodging, but we also cover your mileage back and forth to the meeting. So that's actually what you do right now. That's what you've approved in the past. You also have the option to receive a stipend by law. And so you could receive up to $85 per meeting. Third option is to receive a stipend plus reimbursements. And then the fourth option is to receive no reimbursement at all. As I've said, what you all have elected to do in the past is to be reimbursed, just like a state employee. And so I'll offer all these up to you for your discussion and approval, but you'll have to pick one of these options and vote on it today.
Pleasure of the commission.
I move that we do just like we've been doing, except option number 1.
Second.
So motion and a second, any discussion? Accept.
Does it make any difference to you what we do? I mean, what we've been doing, I assume is adequate. Or-
Yeah, I mean, it's all about budgeting. So I mean, it would.
Don't you have to fill out some kind of paperwork if you get like a stipend or something?
We'll have to work, y'all have not received the stipend in the past, so we'd have to figure out what that looked like from our fiscal side and budget for it. But, typically what we do is we provide a travel reimbursement form as part of your packet, and then we complete that. But it would just, if y'all voted on to receive a stipend, we would have to work with fiscal and decide exactly how that would work.
The form he's referring to is the inside left cover of your packet. There's a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Ms. Dixon. Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. Soon to be better. We have a few things to talk about today, not as many as we have had, in the past, which I'm personally a little pleased about. But first, what we're going to talk about is the state revolving fund bond resolution that you have in your packet.
What tab is that?
Orange tab. Orange.
Orange tab?
Orange tab.
Orange tab.
Right, that's the reimbursement offer.
Okay.
So this is the revenue bond that Chris alluded to a little bit earlier. As you probably all remember, we approved a substantial amount of projects over the last couple of years. And this is our second issue out of state revolving funds. So we'll have two outstanding bond issues when we move forward with this one. And we're looking for an amount not to exceed 75 million to help with our cash flow over the next calendar years. We're really looking that this should carry us through the end of calendar year 25. That's our goal. So questions, I also have Ryan Bowman with Friday Firm. He's our program bond counsel, and I have Ann Bergeron Trenke here from Hilltop Securities. She is the program financial advisor. If you have detailed questions, they can help us answer those. But if you have anything that you are concerned about or have questions about this, please let me know.
Mr. Reeves and Mr. Brewer, would anything that you have, you're the two bankers on
We're just not very good.
I don't have any questions, or the,
Just say that, you know, obviously, right now, everything appears interest rates are continuing to decline. So from a state standpoint, the longer we can wait, the more efficient it is. Now, for those who are buying the bonds, well, if you want to buy them, you probably want to do it today.
that's true. We may have a little longer than expected, though. It sounds like they're gonna hold
Slow
it
it
for
down a little bit,
Yeah.
yeah.
And, you know, our overall cash needs are greater than this amount. But that's why we're only requesting what we think we're actually gonna need just to get us to the end of the year. And this is as far out as I was comfortable pushing our cash needs. I'm gonna run out of money if I don't have some cash.
These will be AA rated bonds.
These are not state general obligation bonds. These
Yeah.
are program revenue bonds.
Well, these would go up for sale immediately.
March. We're looking for a March, right? Am I saying that right?
March.
February, March.
And then to add, you know, we work with ADVO on the Arkansas Development Finance Authority, so we work with very closely on this as well.
Yeah, they're actually the bond issuer for us is ADFA. They issue the bonds on our behalf, so they hold and issue the bond.
Ms. Bush, you have any questions? You're on mute.
Still muted.
Can you unmute her?
I'm trying.
She got it's on her end, she got unmuted.
Ms. Bush, if you don't have any questions, can you give us a thumbs up?
Anybody read lips?
She probably doesn't appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on. Sorry, Ms. Bush, we cannot hear you.
But to speak up.
I'm sorry, we can't hear you, Ms. Bush.
He's probably just telling Bush what to do.
I'm sorry, Ms. Bush, we'll have to move on. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the bond resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion is second to questions. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Debbie, I think you have the shortest list that I can remember, so
I'm very
congratulations.
excited. Personally. So we're gonna go over our recommendations for financial assistance today. First up, we have the Gravel Ridge Sewer Improvement District. We're recommending an amount up to $2,512,632 in a loan from the general obligation bond for their sewer collection rehab program, project. Here's their budget, and as you can see, this one does have the 3% origination fee that is only charged on our state programs because the state revolving fund, the fee is included in their monthly rate. So you'll not see that one. Next, we have Mount Ida. We're recommending an amount up to $586,226 in a loan from the general obligation bond for their sewer plant rehabilitation project. And here's their budget. I think the top section is copied from the wrong, you might need to look in your packets. This is the current budget, because that doesn't look right.
Yeah, 586,226 is the bottom line.
Yeah, I think the construction line at the top here is the wrong,
We have
yeah.
440.
Yeah, so we pasted the wrong one from the project summary bin. So just so you know, this is not displaying the correct at the top section, the bottom half is correct.
So 586 is actually. is
That's the
yeah,
actual
Okay.
amount, yeah. Just the details at the top are incorrect, that's another project. The next, we have North Profit Utilities, we're recommending an amount up to $848,916 out of the general obligation bond program for meter upgrade. And here is their program. Next up, we have the city of Ola. We're recommending an amount of just $43,477 out of the Water Development Fund in a loan for their water main replacement and pump station upgrade project. Here is their budget.
Is there enough? I know you're increasing, have to increase their rates a little bit. Are there enough hookups in Ola to repay the loan?
Based on the analysis. Now, this is an offer to them. We don't have any grant funds, and unfortunately, if we had grant funds, they might qualify for grant funds. But we don't have any grant funds at the time. So this is the best offer we can make them at the time. They do have the option to decline the offer. And we can also, once you approve, it's always an amount up to. So we can go back to them, and if they want to modify the scope and reduce it, or do some value engineering to come in with a lower dollar amount to lower what the amount they would have to increase their rate.
We can't attach any other funds,
Anything else for that one?
like for instance, you can't, get a assignment of 10% of their speeding tickets.
Gotta be
Good way to
the,
get-
gotta be the revenues.
It's a notorious speed trap. But if you can get 10% of that, it'd work.
That's like we gotta get caught in traffic something.
Yeah.
You speak by experience.
Well, I live nearby.
So next up, we have the city of Eureka Springs. Now, Eureka Springs has two projects on here. The first project that we're recommending is their emergency funding that we actually approved in September and forgot to bring to you in November. We should have brought that to you in November, and we failed to get that on the list with all the other ones in November. So we are bringing this one to you today. As an emergency, the director contacts the chairman can give approval, we can get them the funding so they can move forward with their emergency, and then it comes to you guys after the fact to approve the loan. So this is their emergency funding for $100,000 out of the Water Development Fund. The budget is only construction because that's all we fund with the emergency dollars is, and we request that you waive the 3% fee for emergency. So This one would be just $100,000, okay? The next project for Eureka Springs, the $100,000 is actually part of this project. So they came in early because they couldn't wait for the loan to close on the full $6 million. So we went ahead and told them to do the emergency so they could take care of those repairs until the full funding is available. So that'll get them through on that component. And then this will put in a permanent long-term solution for their project. So for their big project, we're recommending amount up to $6,180,000 as a water sewer solid waste fund in a loan for their wastewater treatment plant rehabilitation project. And this will also include some line work around town. And here is their budget on this. We did not reduce this loan amount by the $100,000. We left it at their original request to give them the opportunity to have another $100,000 in contingencies, just in case they had something else along the way.
Well, this does not repay the 100,000 before.
No, that'll be a separate loan. So their total loan will be $6,280,000.
Okay.
And I do believe the mayor is online if you guys have questions for him, if we can get him unmuted and he has the ability to talk.
Mayor, you have anything to add?
No, we appreciate all considerations for this project, and we are, like many other small cities, in dire need of repair of our wastewater system.
Maybe I noticed in the narrative that they're gonna have spare parts, I would call it critical equipment. I haven't noticed that in others before, so I think it's a great idea. Running
Yeah.
wastewater treatment plants in the past, so is that all equipment or is that critical equipment?
Critical.
Okay.
We limit what they can actually purchase and we limit the amount that they can purchase. They can't go out and purchase 1,000 new water meters for a water system if there's only 200 people in their town. We will look at that in our technical review when they submit their plans and specs that includes what that equipment is and make sure it's reasonable for the system and the community for what they're putting in stock.
So is that an option provided or a requirement?
Option.
Okay.
We don't require it. It's optional. But I have to say with the issues that a lot of the systems are having with getting pumps, it can be a year wait.
Right.
When you order them. So a lot of them are looking at now, they have 6 pumps and they're dependent on those pumps to have 1 or 2 in stock. And you can check with the mayor, but I'm pretty sure that's where they're going with this, is these are the critical components that they're gonna need. They don't have to wait 6 months or a year to get that replacement in.
I'll just say hats off to you, Mayor, for doing that.
Okay. Next, we have Washington County, who is applying on behalf of Forest Bend Property Owners Association. This is for their wastewater treatment plant rehabilitation phase 1 project. We're recommending an amount up to $154,500 in a loan from the Water Sewer Solid Waste Fund. And here is their project budget. Next, we have North Profit Utilities. We're recommending amount of up to $396,288 in a loan from the Water Sewer Solid Waste Fund for their sewer lift station project. Their budget. The last traditional recommendation we have for the city of Yellville. We're recommending amount of $384,190 in a loan from the Water Sewer Solid Waste Fund for the wastewater collection and treatment improvement project. This is a very interesting picture. If you all have never seen one of those inside the pipe. They run the camera through and you can see where the roots are coming into the pipe and the infiltration is occurring. So it's really nice when you can get that visual of why they have to replace those pipes or go in and repair them. And here is the budget for the city of Yellville. And then you'll notice that this one is in planning and design line, so they're gonna do studies, planning and design, so that when they know what they need to repair, they can actually repair it. And this is my last traditional project. You have the option of, doing your voting now, or you can wait until we go through the next one, which is a request for additional funding.
The additional funding be set aside. To vote.
Separately, okay. So this concludes our recommendations for traditional financial assistance.
Any questions? Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Ms. Good, thank you.
Go in,
Any
got all.
questions or conversation? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Motion passes.
Okay. Next up, we have the city of Bentonville. They had some bid overruns, or what we consider bid overruns, in their project. So they've come in and asked for, an additional $55 million for their project. We're recommending that $55 million up to $55 million in a loan from the Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund for their water resources recovery facility improvement project.
That's quite an overrun.
Yeah,
It's a big project.
how big is the project? Sorry.
Started out at 97 million. We do have representatives here if you would like to ask them any questions. Mike is here, our vendor.
How do you miss something? How do you miss something that big? I mean, that's over 50%.
Mike, you want to take that one?
Have Josh take it. We started this project, in 22, and we were getting the numbers and everything, and actually escalated some when we went through the design. And this is both capital improvements to repair a lot of aging infrastructure, but then also expand. And, moving through as we went into the GMP, we've got estimates from 22, again, escalated those into 23. That's when we were doing all the applications and everything else. We got the GMPs in 24, they were coming in, and instead of, around 95 million or so that we'd estimated, the engineers had estimated, it was coming in at 140 million for construction only. That it, whittling down, trying to get where we can, 120 million is what we were looking at for construction. We still got some contingencies in there, this being a 4-year project. Our plant's very landlocked, so a couple of the big things missing is shoring. There's a lot of extra concrete working around the existing infrastructure. That was something that wasn't anticipated and would add quite a bit of cost, because it's about, probably around 5,000 extra cubic yards of concrete, whatnot, and just the safety pieces with it. Also, with it being tight, the time. Estimating this to be originally was a 36-month project, and it's more like a 48 to 50-month project, which with the time adds quite a bit. That adds a lot to our engineering and inspections during the whole time, your general conditions and everything else. So we're still working on the phase 2 GMP here. We did come back and at least get what we could with phase 1, our permitting and everything else. Yeah, it's a big hit. I'm hoping we don't hit that, but we run into every scenario you could imagine on the cost overrun.
Though I'll say too, that we've seen, this is not the first project that we've seen 30 to 50% cost overruns on. One, there's a lot of work going on, so contractors are really full, with lots of work. Supply chain pipe has gone up tremendously, so it's supplies materials. But we've had a number of projects come in, 30 to 50.
And I'm sure these are competitive bids. It's not like you're dealing one person and they just keep ramping it up.
But we've had some where you had one bidder.
So some of the issues that we're seeing, because there is so much money on the street right now. We've approved so many loans, there's all the ARPA money out there, there's infrastructure money, there's a lot of money on the street right now for these types of projects. So the contractors are getting to pick and choose. And if they're busy, they might put in a higher bid because they don't really, they're not looking to win, but they want to bid. So they'll put in maybe a higher bid so that they're still in the running, and they might be the only bidder. That's one. We've had several where they were the only bidder and it was $1 million. It was a small project and it was $1 million more than we expected. The other issue that we're seeing, that we're hearing about a lot is materials and like the pumps I just talked about. The suppliers aren't giving quotes. You know, it used to be, before pre-COVID, you could call your material supplier and get a quote, and that could be good for 60, 90, 120 days. You can't get a quote that's good past today. So they can't even quote their materials when they're bidding the project. So you go into a bid, a lot of contractors, pipe in particular, you're bidding on a project and you're putting an estimate in there in the pipe, but you have to caveat that with, that might have to change. And that's where some of these are coming in. And, they've done their best to estimate it, but things are going crazy.
Debbie, to your point, we're actually seeing a lot of that. I mean, obviously with all the money out there right now, we're doing a lot of C&D lending, which, is very risky. So we take extra precautions. What you're saying about the suppliers, the word we're hearing and even talking to them ourselves, they say, if you purchase this, that's fine. You have to sign up for it. And whatever the price is, when we send it to you, you're going to pay it. We don't know what the price is going to be, but you're going to pay it whenever it gets there. So we're seeing that. And I mean, that's unheard of. And then exactly what you said, we've talked to several of the larger mechanical contractors in the state, and every single one of them I talked to has the same story. They say, we're putting bids out there because we want to be in the running for the next one. But they say, we don't want the work. We don't know what we're going to do if the bid gets accepted. So they're pricing them way up there, but yet they're still winning the bids. So, I mean, they don't have the workforce to perform the work. I mean, they literally don't know what they're going to do. So every bid going out is so much higher than it should be, or if it a lot higher than it has been in the past. I mean, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
So I guess inflation's not stopping right now.
No, not at all. No, I don't
Not
think
in
it
this
is.
industry.
No. Anything with construction, I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, if just from a banking perspective, there, if there aren't some conservative people in some of the banks, they could really mistake, because there's all the construction lending you want to do nationwide right now. I don't care what market you're in. If obviously we wouldn't do this because it's a terrible business model, but it's so risky. But if we wanted to go out and put 400 or 500 million on the books tomorrow, I promise you we could do that. I mean, just in our size bank, there's just an unbelievable amount of construction going on right now. For better or worse, that's what it is.
And historically, what's happened, like if we get a large pot of money in Arkansas, it's not necessarily nationwide. Contractors come in from our neighboring states. Right now, this is happening nationwide. Everybody got ARPA money. Everybody got infrastructure. Everybody is trying to get all this money out the door. ARPA has to be fully constructed by 26, so they're pushing hard. Infrastructure money, that's a pot that came out about the same time. You have about a year after you get the money, you have to have it under contract, then you need to start construction. So it's kind of all happening at the same time, and that's a lot of money nationwide. Even the big contractors that sometimes would come in out of state and scoop up some of those mid-sized jobs, they're staying at home because they got too much work at home. So it's across the board.
Yes.
And I would anticipate you'll be seeing us come back with more and more of these as the ARPA projects start to build.
I agree. That's the price thing I talked about first. That's the craziest thing I ever heard. How do you not have a price? But their comment is, say it's a pump. If you don't take it, the next guy's going to, so you better just go ahead and sign up for it. I mean, I've never seen anything like it, but that's literally what's happening out there.
Debbie and/or the city, could you share with the commissioners what discharge limits you face versus the rest of the?
For this Bitmill plant, we're at 0.6, 12-month rolling average for phosphorus. The NACA plant, which is a separate plant, is 0.1. So we are the lowest in the city or the state.
Yeah, the most stringent requirement.
And I know with this, even though we're at that 0.6, there is a TMDL on Town Branch that we discharge into. So With this project, we'll essentially double capacity, and because that TMDL had the loading at the maximum, it'll be down to 0.3. At least, I mean, I've got some permitting issues, which still working through. But yeah, it's gonna be more like a 0.3 once you're all said and done.
It's all a product of supply and demand, as I think, Neil mentioned. You got more money chasing fewer goods. The only way that changes when you cut off the money supply. So
It will happen.
it will happen, as long as you got people like us that's gonna go ahead and approve this. The next thing, 14 more, it doesn't change. It doesn't change until you cut off the money supply.
But the thing is, we had an influx of federal funds, and those federal funds are about to run out. Or ARPA, there is no more ARPA dollars. And so we did 280 million in the first round, 270 for water, wastewater, 10 for irrigation, and then we did another 60 million. A lot of times they had to go get additional funding to meet the match requirements of that. And so all those dollars are now obligated and done. And we're in the third year of IIJA funding. And so that's about to end too. We'll be back down to our normal pots of money, which they'll have scaling back for us when we get there.
But it's been good for Arkansas. We've gotten a lot of projects done that needed doing, but at the same time, they probably cost twice what they should have, 3 times.
But there was also 3 times the grant money. So it probably didn't save any money in the long run. It cost way more, but there was more grant dollars paid. So it's kind of.
You get some on the front end, but you cut out those on the back end because they can't afford it. So, and we're.
You know, I don't wish Bentonville any misfortune at all, but that 152 million. And I don't have any idea what they cost, but is that not enough money to build the future aircraft carrier William Jefferson Clinton?
That might be what they're building, Bruce.
Just curious, are we cutting that aircraft carrier?
Don't give anybody any ideas.
I think they'll fit on town brand.
Just a little, you know.
Never to get an airport.
What's the pleasure of the commission?
I move we approve this.
I'll second it.
Motion and second. Any questions, further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Hey, if we come up to Bentonville, we want to get a drink of water now.
Come on up.
Or you can ride on
You
the
don't wanna
aircraft
drink this
carrier, either one.
Drink of this one.
Oh, that's right, that's a. Well, we want to drink of the good one.
So I have one more item of discussion and requesting a vote on this as well. So we've come across a couple of special circumstances with our new federal money. So we now have 3 special pots of money within our state revolving fund program. And we've talked about these a little bit in the past. So under the Clean Water Program, we have emerging contaminant grants. EPA, this is part of the infrastructure money. EPA gives us a set amount of money. That money can only be used for a construction project to take care of emerging contaminants such as PFAS. But you have to do a construction project. It can't be just for testing. Drinking water has the same kind of thing. And then in addition to that, drinking water also got the lead service line replacement funding. That funding is very specific that it can only be used to replace lead service lines or lead service lines or other lines requiring replacement. There's some very technical terms in there. But what we're coming across is a project will come into us and we'll bring you an application and give a recommendation for approval such as a wastewater treatment plant project maybe, or a water treatment plant project where they're going in and replacing lines around town. And then as we get into the project, or as they get into the project, they realize they have all of the project or a component of the project might be eligible for one of those special pots of money. The emerging contaminant money, EPA requires that go out as 100% principal forgiveness. So anything, any component or project in entirety that qualifies for that is required to get 100% principal forgiveness out of that pot of money. The lead service line is, 49% principal forgiveness, 51% loan. Here's an example for you. You guys approved a project for Conway Court at the last commission meeting for $32,495,300 in a loan. You approved that. We recommend it. We're moving forward with them. Conway Corp reaches out to us and says, hey, we think we have $5.2 million of that project that will qualify for emerging contaminants. So I asked them to provide the documentation. I've sent the documentation off to EPA. I'm waiting for EPA to tell me whether it qualifies or not, because it's not a black and white decision on that one. So if that's approved, 5.2 million of that $32.5 million is now emerging contaminants. And I need to move that from a loan to principal forgiveness out of the emerging contaminant pot. So that's not money that anybody else could get for principal forgiveness for a traditional project. It can only be used for emerging contaminants. Right now, we don't have enough applications for emerging contaminants. We have too much money, not enough applications. So what we're asking for you guys is when that occurs to give us the authority, as long as we do not exceed your approval dollar amount, to move that money, the 5.2 from the loan, the clean water loan, to the clean water emerging contaminant or the drinking water, from the regular loan, the actual repayable loan account, to the forgiveness or the special funding based on those requirements by EPA.
Admire the creativeness, Debbie.
So move.
Second,
Second.
any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Motion passes.
Okay, I have one more report for you, and that's a report on the de-obligations. As you can see here, we have several of the folks that were approved over the last year that have declined funding or found another funding source. And then a few of these received ARPA funds out of that second round, so they're reducing the amount of loan funds that they're going to require. And that concludes my report.
Questions for Debbie? Debbie, if my math is right, over the past 2 years, you've moved through $3 billion.
Right around that.
Yeah, about
Yeah.
2.8.
Yeah, right around 3.
The last 2 years, you
The
said?
last 2 years.
Yeah.
And if my number is right, there's not quite 3 million people in the state of Arkansas, so you've moved $10,000 per citizen to improve their drinking water, wastewater. It's a lot of work.
A lot of work.
On behalf of the commission, thank you.
That really goes to my staff.
Takes a good
They,
leader.
they,
Takes a good leader too.
they make it happen. Thank you all.
Mr. Wentz.
Mr. Chairman, good morning, Commissioners. So it's been a couple of years since we gave you an update on the Arkansas nutrient reduction strategy. So it's been actually 2 years, so this is a biennial update. I just want to give you a quick refresher on what the nutrient reduction strategy is and why we have one. So the 12 states along the Mississippi River, with US EPA, NRCS, Army Corps, NOAA, and Sierra 46 are academic institutions, tribes, all formed the Gulf of Mexico Mississippi River Hypoxia Task Force in response to what's called the dead zone or hypoxic zone. So hypoxia just means the lack of oxygen. So what's causing this is excessive nutrients leaving the Mississippi River basin. So when you think about the Mississippi River basin, 31 states all draining to a single point. The Mississippi River and its tributaries have been altered to basically move water off the landscape quicker. And so when we're carrying excessive nutrients, excessive sediment, basically when that fresh water hits the Gulf of Mexico, it separates. You have fresh water sitting on top of salt water. Those nutrients come in, create large algal blooms. That algae decomposes. And as it sinks, the microbacteria are consuming that decomposing algae, and it consumes all the oxygen. And now you just put that over a very large landscape, about 5,000 square miles, which is about 1/10 the size of the state of Arkansas, that has very low or no oxygen. And this is seasonal. It's usually in the summertime. And this is not unusual. All large river deltas across the globe. This happens, but it's just happening at a larger scale. So all the 12 states have a representative task force as Secretary Ward is leaving. He is our new hypoxia task force representative. So he is now serving as the state's task force member. So all the states agreed to work and develop nutrient reduction strategies to address nutrient loss. So in 2014, we the state, Natural Resources Division had our first nutrient reduction strategy. Then Deputy Director Ryan Benefield worked through time to update this. And so in 2022, we came and presented the draft nutrient reduction strategy to you. And in part of this, had defined focus areas of watersheds across the state where we needed to work, clear goals and strategies. That was something that was lacking in 2014. And then work with our partners at DEQ to develop the point source strategies and then the non-point source strategies here at the Natural Resources Division. And again, in those focused watersheds, we did a statistical exercise with the Arkansas Water Resources Center to basically say we have confidence where we have enough water quality data to make determinations on nutrient trends. Are nutrient trends increasing or decreasing in the state? And that's what we really want to focus in on, that directional change. We want to see, nutrient loss basically going down. So we are doing our part is what we want to document. So again, we're looking at large, what are called HUC-8 watersheds. These are large areas, and I'll show you in a minute. But again, within that, we want to define tiers. So where we have enough data to make the statistical determinations, we're grouping those into tier 1. Tier 2 watersheds are those watersheds where we think, it looks like we have enough data. Nutrient trends are going down, but we want to collect some more data to be sure that what we're seeing in the data, we have confidence in. Tier 3 is not a focus. We have enough data to make that determination that nutrient trends are not to a point where we're being concerned about water quality endpoints. And then tier 4, again, likely not a focus, but it wouldn't hurt to collect some more data. So what we're seeing is nutrient concentrations, again, are not indicative of something that we would anticipate being a water quality issue. So our prioritization map looks like this. So the dark orange are the tier 1s where we have enough data, be statistically confident that we are seeing some water quality issues, that we need to focus more conservation practices in and start seeing that downward trend. The lighter orange peach color are those tier 2, where we need to collect a little more data to have more confidence in what we're seeing as far as the water quality endpoints. The light green, the tier 3, again, what we're not seeing any in the water quality data. And I also want to say that the large outlines are HUC-8s. This is a pretty common delineation of watershed scale. So the larger the number, the more spatially confined that unit is. So if we went to a HUC-12, HUC-14, it's a much smaller unit than say a HUC-4 or HUC-2.
Could you explain what a HUC is?
Hydrologic unit code, I apologize. So these are USGS delineations across the nation on how watersheds are defined.
Maybe you said this and I just too dadgum thick-headed to understand, but what makes something be a tier 1 and something be a tier 4? We're talking about nutrients coming out off the ground, right?
Sure.
Isn't that what we're talking about?
This goes back to how we categorize it. Basically, the state, between what we fund through the non-point source program, what DEQ funds through their ambient water quality monitoring, we look at that and we analyze that across the state. So based off how many monitoring stations are in a single watershed, will dictate how much water quality data is available. Then we take that back and analyze it, to basically make a determination. Are we statistically confident in that determination? And so where we see those orange watersheds, we have quite a bit of water quality monitoring data. And what it's telling us is that we need to probably reduce nutrients in those watersheds. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, kind of.
It's all data-based. So where we had, see these,
Okay, well, why does Lake Conway have more nutrient problems than, Maumelle?
well, so this would be Lower Arkansas Maumelle. So basically, this is the upper portion. This goes all the way down to Jefferson County. It's really about land use. And so what's happening in those watersheds? It's also about point sources. So you have more point source influence. So you start looking about, and again, it's about water quality data availability. So where we have more data, we can be more confident that what we're seeing in the in-stream concentrations that we need to be. So say, down here in Bodca, very little monitoring data, but what we're seeing down here in Bodca, Torchy, or even over here in, that would be, well, I can't remember right off the top.
DeQueen or something?
It'd be around DeQueen. So this would be Poto, this would be, Rich Mountain area, Mina. We do have water quality monitoring data, but what we're seeing, on the returns of that, when we analyze it, we're not as concerned about the in-stream issues with nutrients.
And to add to that, I mean, some of it's land use.
It's
So, I mean,
primarily land use.
if you look at like where you have massive landscapes that are forested, I mean, there's not a lot going on in those landscapes to reduce nutrients. But
Oh, I see what you're saying. So where you have
So this is primarily forested
concentration of
land.
people, perhaps you would have it be more.
And so again, you have more point source influence, more agricultural influences here, more forest influences here. And it's just what's happening on the landscape will dictate what's, as far as the runoff.
The chemicals that are applied, fertilizer,
Right.
is that runoff?
Yes, sir.
That's what we're talking about.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I
So,
understand.
and so jumping ahead, we work with our partners at NRCS to implement voluntary conservation practices to help keep those soils and nutrients on the land. So it helps producers, it helps water quality.
How about erosion?
Yes, sir, that's all part of it.
Okay.
Okay, so getting into
Forgive me
the,
for asking a stupid question.
no, those stupid questions.
No, I
No,
just,
I thought you had
I'm
another.
just
Okay.
going back to it.
No, you're good. Just going back to the goals and strategies of the nutrient reduction strategy. So we wanted to keep this simple, but we wanted to have clearly defined goals. So increase and maintain the downward trends in those tier 1 watersheds. So those are those darker orange watersheds. Enhance water quality monitoring stations across those tier 2, so we can be confident in what we're observing and trying to reduce those nutrients. And when I say nutrients, what we're really talking about is total phosphorus and total nitrogen. Those are common fertilizers, that Commissioner Reeves pointed out. But it's also common in what Chairman Burr mentioned to City of Bentonville's NPDES permit limits. They're talking about total phosphorus as that endpoint. And then continue effort to reduce nutrients in all watersheds. And so this is part of our biennium update. So we're reviewing a draft document right now that kind of highlighting all the efforts of the last few years since the implementation of the current nutrient reduction strategy. So just kind of give you some quick highlights. So in 1992, we basically set the baseline. This aligns with the Gulf Hypoxia baseline of trying to setting it basically a starting point. Where do we need to reduce from? So in our tier 1 watersheds, the lighter orange would be our starting point, our baseline. The middle bar is basically what the watershed would be in 2019. This is all based off current in 2019 land use data and land cover. So basically, as Director Collier said, what's happening on the land. We're modeling that. We have runoff coefficients to basically give nutrient estimates. Then we have 10 best management practices with nutrient reduction efficiencies. So we work with partners at NRCS, what we fund through the non-point source program. Basically say, if we implement these 10 best management practices with nutrient reduction efficiencies, what return on investment are we seeing in water quality? And so we'll take the Illinois at the very top bar. So in 1992 baseline, we're at about 1.2 million pounds of phosphorus with BMPs, and without BMPs, we're about the same. But you start looking at, say, the Lambee watershed, we've seen a slight uptick since the baseline. But without BMPs, we increase through time with BMP implementation. And what we're talking about is no-till cover crops, bioswales, basically anything to, again, keep nutrients, keep sediment on farm. So the goal two, to enhance water quality monitoring, again, we partnered with the Arkansas Water Resource Center. They did an exercise to basically evaluate where we have existing monitoring station. Mr. Glover, this kind of gets to the point of what you're asking about. Where do we have existing water quality data? So the image on the left shows basically where we have existing water quality monitoring stations within a single geographic watershed. This is Bayou Bart, where we have stations that are collected over long periods of time. And where would we want to go to collect more data to paint the bigger picture of what's happening in this watershed? So this is what we're going to be working on going forward. And then goal three is to reduce nutrients in all watersheds. So part of our exercise with the nutrient reduction tracker is to take all those BMPs that we know are going on the ground and basically look at land use. So what we're showing is that the BMPs since 2019 have reduced total nitrogen about 2%, almost 4% statewide. Of the 58 hucks, when we're talking, again, hydrologic unit code, large watersheds, there's 58 in the state. All 58 watersheds showed total phosphorus reduction after BMP, so that we know they're working. 51% of the statewide showed a reduction from baseline since 1992 without BMPs. So we are reducing total phosphorus across the state, even without BMPs. But BMPs are reducing total phosphorus again statewide. Then we removed almost 4 million pounds of total nitrogen and about 1 million pounds since 1992. So all of this is basically since 1992. So what is next? So last time I reported, we're working on a work plan for 1.7 million of IIJA funding. That EPA worked to get 60 million set aside for all 12 states and tribes. And so our first tranche was 1.7 million. We're working on our second tranche of funding for 2.5 million. So that work plan will go forward to EPA for federal fiscal year 24, 25, and 26. So what we're looking at funding would be increased monitoring. So I mentioned that tier 2 in the Bayou Bart, that is one of our focus watersheds. So we will work to expand water quality monitoring in our tier 2 watersheds. Implementation, we'll be looking at expanding 2-stage ditches. I mentioned that to you last time. So think about a ditch within a ditch. Think of large, well, folks in the Delta, think of the trapezoidal channel. So what we're doing is increasing surface area within that ditch so water can spread out. It does help reduce flooding, but can reduce nutrients and sediment by about 50%. So we're excited about that work. And then just education and outreach. Why is this important to producers? Why is this important to all our candidates? Then we'll continue to work on updating our nutrient reduction viewer. So as BMPs come in, we'll work with our partners at NRCS, again, what we're funding through the non-point source program to continually update our nutrient reduction viewer. Part of the 2.5 million will again go into update the nutrient reduction strategy. So as we're collecting all this water quality data over the next 5 years, come back and review all those tier categories and basically make that determination again. Do we have enough data? Are we making improvements in water quality? So with that, I will conclude my report and answer any questions.
Any questions, Tate? Do you want to mention something about Tate? Not expecting this, Director, but I've seen Tate take some pretty good shots in some public meetings. And he handles himself very well. And he represents the state very well as well. So Tate, you do a great job.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, sir. I'll add to that. I depend on Tate very heavily. Especially with staff turnover and just vacant positions. Tate's really stepped up, taking a major role. So I appreciate it.
Okay, partner reports, Dr. McGowan. Dr. McGowan, you online? Going once? Dr. McGowan going twice? All right. Mr. Funkhausen, Corps of Engineers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just going to provide a brief update, kind of go along with what Chris talked about earlier this morning. We do have several projects with the Arkansas Natural Resources. The water plan is the big one. Right now, we're working on water supply and water infrastructure assessment component of the plan. We are working right now to select a contractor, hopefully within the next couple of weeks. We should have that contractor nailed down. We have a pretty good idea who it is, but nothing's final until they sign on and we sign on. We'll start pretty immediately with stakeholder meetings. Those will begin in the spring. We're going to probably, hopefully, maybe coincide with some of those with some other ongoing projects that the Corps has. I'll talk a little bit about here in just a second. So we minimize stakeholder fatigue because we're working on some project as well, and it deals with the same stakeholders, and we sure don't want to wear those folks out. It's a 2-year effort. The water plan is. So if we get started, hopefully in the next couple of months with these stakeholder meetings, next month and a half, then we should wrap it up sometime late summer of 26, this plan. The levy assessment project, Chris talked about that one a little bit. There are 47 counties that we're looking to identify undocumented levies. There's another component to this as well. We're actually working with the state to develop a term for what is a levy, right? So the Corps has one definition of a levy, might not meet the needs of the state of Arkansas. So we're working together to come up with a collaborative definition of what a levy is. And those 47 counties, Chris mentioned earlier, there's 34 levies that were identified. We've contacted roughly 20 counties or so. We'll finish up the remainder of the counties to verify those 34 levies, hopefully by the end of this month. And then we'll start face-to-face meetings where we'll actually go out and meet with some of these counties and go get boots on the ground and look at some of these levies that may be there, may be in existence, 34 levies. We are way ahead of schedule on that project. It was originally, I think, a 2.5 to 3 year project, and I'd say we're at least probably 6 months ahead of schedule right now. Once you start getting out in the field, things could change. We hope to keep that schedule way to the left as we currently are. A project that just ended, and it's been ongoing for a couple of years with the ANRD is the Illinois River Watershed Model. It's a collaborative effort to examine runoff in the Illinois River Basin in northwest Arkansas, Benton and Washington counties. We just finished that project. We're actually working now with Tate to kind of finalize a potential interface or a dashboard, if you will, and that should be wrapping up real soon. But we finished that project on schedule. It's hopefully will be useful to the communities in northwest Arkansas where they can look at runoff changes in the basin as development occurs. And the last project I have is not really directly tied with you guys, but it is our White River Basin study. It is a 5-year study where the Corps is examining all the water uses in the entire White River Basin in Arkansas and in Missouri. So we have a pretty large base component that's actually taking place in Missouri as well. That project, we're slated to hopefully get stakeholder meetings started this spring. Now, funding is an issue. It is a 100% federal project. We are partnering with Arkansas State University. They're providing a lot of work in kind, but the actual cash that's being utilized right now is all federal funds. We're kind of in a stagnate right now with we're in continuing resolution, so it really kind of bottlenecks up our funding. But hopefully we'll work through that. We'll get a budget, get some funding to keep going forward and, start on those stakeholder meetings this spring. Like I said, we're gonna work with Chris and Kate to try to collaborate together with these stakeholder meetings, and I think it actually could be financial benefit to both entities. Because again, these are some of the same stakeholders that we're gonna be talking about, some of the same water resource issues, perhaps with a little bit different objectives in mind. That's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Hale, with ACD.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for giving me a little bit of time this morning. I'm coming to you on behalf of AACD. Debbie Moreland just regrets that she couldn't be with you today, but she had, met with the county judge in Logan County to help that district, secure some county funds for their district. I also wanted to share too that in March, we'll be meeting with you all again at the Wyndham Hotel for your March meeting and our annual AACD conference. As he said, I'm Jeanette Hale. I live in Russellville, Arkansas, and I am the district coordinator for the Pup County Conservation District. In one of our board meetings, but about this time last year, we were talking about where we needed to go with our programs. And one of the things that we decided was a priority was in urban ag. So I got to looking around at different things to do. And if you've looked around this, you see a common theme of Arkansas Grown. Well, I went to the Arkansas Grown website and came across the fact that they were having a conference, which they're going to be having another one at the end of this month. And so I asked if I could go to that conference and learn a little bit more about farmers markets and that sort of thing. Because I kind of thought maybe that was what our niche was, to get more involved in farmers markets. Well, before the conference took place, I was on the website and saw a farm school link. And so I clicked on that and I was reading about it and found out that my county is a food desert. I thought, how could that be? We're over 50% agriculture. How could kids be going hungry? So that kind of, pulled at my grandma heartstrings a little bit. And so I got to investigating that. In the meantime, I went to the conference and I filled out an application to be a coach for a farm to school team. I was ultimately assigned to the Atkins Middle School that was going to start a school garden. And I cannot tell you how rewarding that has been as a district and as an individual to see so much interest at that level. The Farm to School program is, of course, part of the Department of Ag and part of the Department of Education. It brings fresh, locally grown choices to school cafeterias. It provides an outlet for local producers. It promotes healthy food choices and education for students and brings agriculture to the classroom. Teaching sustainability in food production, even if it's in a flower pot, has been one of our team's greatest goals. To be honest, I really have not done near as much coaching with this team as I've been cheerleading because they hit the ground running. I'm happy to say that they have worked so hard. They have put together a huge school garden. They have produced more than 200 pounds of produce. What they couldn't use in their school cafeteria, they've donated to the local pantry. The sustainability that the kids have been involved in is harvesting and preserving the seeds for the next crop. They learned that even, like I said, a flower pot can produce food for their own personal nutrition. They're also given seeds and plants to take home. And many have come back and talked about it. They even brought a tomato to school. They looked, this is what I grew. Some of the unexpected bonuses of the gardens was the high school media team there at Atkins contacted the school team and asked if they could do a tour and a video. So they came and they, interviewed us all, and we walked around and showed them all that they had done. Well, the video wound up on YouTube. So now Atkins Middle School, Farm to School Garden is available to anyone across the world. They can click on YouTube and go to it and see what it is. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to download and bring it to you today, but if you're a YouTube person, go check it out. Another thing that, worked in well with this Farm to School Garden is one of our other projects in Pup County is we do an annual calendar that promotes everything that we do in our district, whether it's floodplain awareness and management or natural resources or water issues or game and fish or, NRCS programs, whatever. We ask the sixth grade students in our county to do the artwork. So they do, and they do a variety of things, and some of it's comical, and some year, the winner for the cover was one of the kids that are involved in the Atkins Middle School Farm to School program. And so it was very encouraging to see all this come together, and I did bring some of those copies for you all, if you would like to.
Hand those out.
Have one, yes, that'd be fine, thank you. Okay, one of the other things that was a bonus to the farm to school program that I didn't really think about going into, and that was the partnering. The farm to school team has used information from the Arkansas Department of Ag, the Arkansas Department of Education, U of A Extension, NRCS, and of course, our services in our district office. So that has been a great way to improve the garden, teach kids about soil health, and other nutritional value that's been valuable to the students. Okay, now one of the biggest problems we know when you start a project is how you're gonna maintain it. What are you gonna do? And it typically, not typically maybe, but too often, they fail. Either lack of commitment or lack of funding or lack of preparation for sustainability. So as part of our farm to school team, we've talked about that, and in addition to always looking for information and grant funding to continue our garden and increase capacity, we take the seeds that when the produce is finished, the kids come in and they harvest the seeds and they package them after they're dried and prepared, and then they are going to local events, farmers markets, or in Atkins, it's a pickle fest. And they're selling these. They also grew loofah, and I don't know if any of y'all are really familiar with the loofah sponges or not, but it's a natural sponge, and it's really a prolific plant. And they have done well with them, and so they've harvested all these loofahs, which are about this long, and it just looks like a sponge, because that's what it is. And they dry them, they take the seeds out, and they prepare them for the farm to school markets, you know. So that's bringing in income that's gonna help them next year as they, well, in the next couple of months, as they start to get involved with the garden again. And one of the best and most satisfying parts of this story is that this successful garden was done with $0 from the school, except for some water. It's been done with $0 from my district. It was true, they came together. They looked for volunteers, they found grants, so that the people that are experienced the greatest benefit from it are doing it with just hard work. And it, you know, what is more satisfying than hard work? So, yeah. So, and it's brought the kids back to the classroom. And another great thing that's come out of this is the school district actually is the only district in Polk County that does not have an ag department. And so after they have looked and watched the school and the commitment of other teachers being involved, one of the teachers that's on my team has applied to get her certification. She's already got a degree. She's applied to get her certification in agriculture. And they are considering putting ag in the classroom and in the curriculum, which, I mean, I think that's just really a feather in the cap. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. This is something that any conservation district can do, and I encourage it. It's a little work on the conservation district, a whole lot of work on the school district, But it's so worth it, and the kids thoroughly enjoy it and benefit from it from here on out.
I got a couple of comments. I serve as chairman of the Polk County Conservation District, so been involved in this program from the beginning. To me, the beautiful part is that these sixth grade students learn, first of all, you take a seed and you plant it, and you get a plant. Then from that plant, you grow fruit. So it's a great educational, like, one of the greatest, you see it, you feel it, you're involved. And then take a lot, it's done mostly in some flower beds, correct?
It's raised beds.
Yeah, some flower beds that were done with some cross ties, okay? So it's not taking a lot of school property. Then these vegetables used in the school cafeteria. More than they need on some of them, which are given away, some other charities. So it's a win-win for the school, for the students in every way possible. What it takes is someone with some initiative to get it started. In our case, Jeanette has done a great job with a couple of teachers there, and the three of them, these teachers came out and watered some of these even through the summer. So it was a partnership. It was a partnership deal, and the school got a little grant, correct? $3,000 up grant.
Well, it's, they got a grant for being in the farm to school program, which
Yeah.
is $1,000 grant to them.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of money involved, but the school did get a little bit of money. From us, I think there's an opportunity for us to do some things to promote things like this. And I hadn't thought through all the ways we might, but maybe we could provide a little seed money to some of these other schools to do the same thing. With an example, when you see the YouTube or some of the things, you get so much better. I'm visual. And when I hear some of these things, I get just a small part of it. But when you see that and see these plants, or you get a totally different feel for it. And these other schools could see this and what they could do, it's one of the best teaching methods I know of. Plus, it's not just teaching, it's not abstract, it's real. And you get the benefit of using the cafeteria, you get the benefit of helping some of the other places that need the food. So,
Can conservation districts use their, EI money?
but we don't, doesn't cost us anything, other than Jeanette's time.
Well, you said about $1,000 to do it.
Well, we may have spent a little, travel money, but nothing of any dollars.
The farm to school program itself is limited to 15 schools. So it's certainly something that could be utilized to expand on, even if districts were not involved in that program.
When you say it's limited to 15, does that mean there's only 15 doing it, or the state only allows 15?
The state is, the program actually started, I believe, in Vermont, and that's their max for state is 15. And so the schools, in fact, it's been running for probably a good 2 weeks now. Schools are made aware of the fact that they can apply for this. And then they go through and see what their desires are and their goals are. And then Department of Ag makes that selection. And the coaches apply for that position, and then the coaches are matched up with the selected team. Been a win-win for us.
And Roy, to your point, being 3 or 4 generations removed from the farm, it's interesting to have kids learn where their food comes from.
It is. And also, your conservation district in most counties is the best kept secret in the county. People don't know about, they don't even know about the conservation district or what they do. So it's really an opportunity to get out there to the school and teach some of these folks, and they see something that's real and tangible, and you can touch and eat.
Hale, thank you, Ms. Hale, thank you for your report. Please tell Debbie we missed her.
I'm sorry.
Please tell Debbie we missed her, but thank you for your report.
I will. Thank you.
Chris Chipson.
I was just gonna say, maybe something too to look at. I know there's a lot of programs that do pollinator gardens and things like that, to see if those could be expanded a little bit too, to maybe allow for some plants that grow actual food too. And so maybe some other additional opportunities there that we can look into in the money grant program. You know, a lot of other programs out there that we might be able to look into.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Ms. Wassel, EQ. Did I say your last name correctly? Wassel?
Yeah. Awesome. You got it.
Right.
Associate Director of Office of Water Quality for the Division of Environmental Quality. Thank you for having us here today for a short update. And just real quick, a recap on permits from last year. We issued 158 NIPD's permits, 25 individual no discharge, and a combined total of 1,170 general permits. We had a good year. We're shooting for more this year. We do continue to prioritize our state construction permits and those related NIPD's permits for the recipients of SRF funding. And then we are still continuing to implement our processes into SEEK. We are currently have just 2 of our general permits in there. It's the construction stormwater general permit and the industrial stormwater general permit. We will be slowly adding all the other general permits into that, but right now we're focusing on wastewater licensing because we have a renewal coming up this year in the summer, and we want to use our SEEK program for that renewal. And then we're also doing some migration of our internal work into SEEK as we're working on the outside processes also. And I think it's been a couple of months since I've seen y'all. So I did want to report that we do have a new Deputy Associate Director for the Office of Water Quality, and that is Joe Martin. So hopefully I'll be able to have him come and present at one of the meetings and provide a report. And that is all I have. So anyone has any questions or concerns?
Any questions from Ms. Walker?
Just have a comment. Appreciate that when you think about all the projects, money has a timeline. They gotta get permits, they got to design, get permits, and so departments or Division of Environmental Quality and the Health Department really helped us to try to expedite as many of those permits, so that money that has a very strict timeline that goes away, that really can get through the permitting process and get the projects started. So definitely appreciate that effort.
Okay, I get the privilege of welcoming our new state conservationist,
Yes.
Amanda Matz.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. It is great to be back with the commission today. I know I've had the pleasure of getting to present to you all a lot in my former role as Assistant for Partnerships within RCS, but great to be here today as Arkansas State Conservationist for USDA and RCS. And just want to say thank you for all the partnership in the past, and I look forward to continuing and expanding that. You know, we are so blessed here in Arkansas with fantastic partners on the natural resource side, and look to continue that into the future. We're partnering with NRD in so many different respects, whether that's our efforts in partnership with our conservation districts and just general local led conservation measures, on-farm voluntary conservation efforts, irrigation water management technicians, the feral swine program, nutrient reduction strategy that Tate spoke about, and of course our large irrigation projects as well. So we're very joined at the hip, and we want to continue that and continue to expand it. I do want to make an introduction this morning. Mr. Keith Scoggins is with me today. Keith is our acting Assistant State Conservationist for Partnerships. So he's filling in behind my old role and will be on board for about 4 or 5 months. And we're happy to have him. So hopefully you'll see his face around a little bit more. I also wanted to give a name of our new state public affairs specialist. Miss Jessica Rolls came on board with us the 1st of January. She came over from the Small Business Association. We're so excited to have her. She brings a wealth of knowledge on all things public affairs, whether that's production of content, media, social media, all those things. So we're looking forward to having her on board to help us tell our story better. As Commissioner Reeves pointed out, we keep that a secret sometimes, way too much. We got a lot of opportunity there to share about fantastic voluntary conservation measures that are happening across the state. So looking forward to having Jessica in that new role. I'll just real quickly, hit on a few of where we're at as far as status goes. I think, at your last meeting, our acting state conservationist Justin Meisner was with you and probably gave you a report on some of the big numbers as far as FY 24. And it was a record year for us at NRCS and the amount of dollars that we had available, to address conservation needs. Well, 2025 is gonna break that record. And already to this point, we already have close to $30 million on the books for new conservation efforts under our environmental quality incentives and conservation stewardship programs. We've never been at that number as of January, since I've been with the agency for over 20 years. So we have over $30 million already there. Most of that has been put out in a kind of primary initiatives being cover crop initiative. So we have got thousands and thousands of brand new acres of cover crops under contract right now. So we're looking to see that implementation continue to expand. So we're excited about that. $11 million in cover crops, $10 million has been put out for energy conservation practices. So this is typically where we have poultry houses who have had an energy audit conducted and they have learned that, you know, fans, lighting, ceiling, all of these different elements, retrofit some of those activities, we can pull those energy costs down. And so we've had $10 million available for that. That's the most we've had in quite a while. And then we were also funding several new energy audits because that's kind of, they have to have an energy audit which says what all needs to be replaced and the return on that investment. So those come first. So we're doing more audits, doing the practices, a lot going out there through our environmental quality incentives program to date. Same with our conservation stewardship program. We have close to $10 million in just renewal contracts. So these are folks who had a prior CSP. They've been doing a lot of active management on their farms throughout the state. They're going to continue to do even more over the next 5 years. So between those two, our EQIP and CSP alone, we have over $30 million obligated, but we have $153 million remaining in just EQIP and CSP alone to get obligated by the end of our fiscal year. So it's a heavy lift. Our conservation district partners are absolutely vital to that. We have to have them in those offices helping us with all of the conservation planning, practice design, all of those things that go into us being able to work with those producers to get the funds they need to implement their conservation plans. So a lot of work yet to come out there. And of course, a tremendous of that funding is associated with the Inflation Reduction Act or IRA allocations that we received. I think somewhere on the order of about 60 to 70 million of that remaining dollars are targeted towards some of those climate practices. Luckily for us, most of that fits really well with conservation practices like soil health and grazing management, things like that, that we have a large demand for anyway. So a lot yet to do. And of course, we're bracing for a fair bit of change that we expect. We'll be getting a new Secretary of Agriculture, a new chief. We have a new state conservationist, and then we have a few holes on our leadership team that we're working to backfill. So a lot of change. But to me, while that obviously represents a challenge, every time we've ever gone through major changes like this, it highlights the importance of our partnership even more. We're going to continue to focus on things that are of a priority in Arkansas. Our natural resource issues aren't going to change. We'll still have major water quantity issues, water quality issues, plant health, soil health, and wildlife as being our kind of priority natural resource concerns. And so for NRCS, we're ready to continue implementing activities that help us address those. But that's all I have today. Any questions?
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much. Yes, thank you. All right.
Thank you, Ms. Mattis.
Thank you.
If I could, congratulations to Arkansas too, for Amanda being the state conservationist. I'm the regional rep for the National Association of State Conservation Agencies. We had a regional call yesterday. And when I announced that Amanda was our new state conservationist, they were very jealous that first of all, that she is our state conservationist, but two, the decision was made very quickly. And that, I think that's a testament to Amanda's work with partners and in the state. So they were like, how did y'all get that done? And I was like, I don't know. I think, Amanda's just that good.
Oh, gosh, maybe lower the bar.
Okay, another business, our next meeting is scheduled for March 13th in collaboration with our friends at AACD, to be determined. Any other business? Commissioners have anything else you want to talk about? Mr. Bush, we'll give you the opportunity if you're on.
She dropped off.
Okay.
Or they were feeding after going to the hospital. So.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to dismiss.
I'll say.
All in favor? Motion approved. Thank you. Thank you to the public too.